this morning's live, and we have a lot of stuff to talk about this morning. Pretty super excited, actually. Papa Wheelie, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XP Predictor. Edgar, welcome in. McMichael, good morning, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for your 3rd month with the XP Meteor. James, good morning. Thanks for being in Tom's Army for your 2nd month with the Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. I greatly appreciate that. Big stuff's happened in about the last 24 to 36 hours for XRP. We've had a little bit of a resolution, not the entirety, because we still have to wait for the judge and, you know, the judicial system to play out. But on the SEC's website, we at least got that validation that they had agreed to drop the fine from 125 million to 50 million. So what Brad Garlinghouse said, we assumed was correct. We were just waiting for some word from the SEC, so we'll go over that, what they said. We've got a few different things to look at. We had a nice little retracement. XRP went perfectly, I mean absolutely perfectly to our analysis yesterday, but we needed to happen. I am so happy when I woke up this morning to see some of the movement. However, just like yesterday, Frankie Fresh, welcome in. Aaron, thanks for being in Tom's Army, the both of you, for 3 months, plus the XP Meteor. Daytona, welcome in. Tanya May, welcome in. Love, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the XRP 589 Moon Badge. Love it. Daytona, thanks for being in your 2nd month with the Dusty Outhouse Crypto News. Aaron, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. UB2B Saab, our meme genius, thank you for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years with the 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands Badge. I love it. Love it. Tomorrow a scammed cop to your X account. I believe it. I believe it. There's so many people that scam my stuff. It sucks, but nothing I can do about it. I tried for so long, but there's nothing. So as we go through this, we can see Bitcoin at a minor retracement, but it's bounced back up. Everything that I'm seeing right now looks pretty good. We'll go over all of the analysis. We'll go over what the SEC said. And when money finds yield from one spot to the next, now we're going to see, do we get the bounce back? We talked about the mining stocks yesterday. I said I would keep you guys updated because I wanted to see if we would get a full bounce back or if we were going to get one of these small retracements. Right now, looks like we're getting this left shoulder, came down to a head, and now it looks like this could be a little inverse pattern here. And if this is, that means money's going to find its way back here very quickly because I don't expect a big fall. I don't expect a big fall. I don't expect it to be anything crazy. I would like to see these bounce back. I'm just waiting for the confirmation to hop back in. So far, so good. It was just a rather bizarre drop off, and the way I hit the resistance and everything, it let an opportunity. But now, if it's holding the bottom of these areas, we're going to have money finding its way into here as well. So some money got turned around yesterday. But at the end of the day, we'll find out in a very quick way. It's just, we got to get through these very big resistance areas. Like, that's the thing. Yesterday, I was excited. I'm still excited. It's just until we get past, and there's so much stuff in my mind, until we get past this major resistance. And we talked yesterday, and I hope some of you were able to understand, once it broke 222 and we had that held, we knew we were going to get that 8% push. Like, that's the key resistance here. And once that happens, now it's the possibility of, we talked about this scenario yesterday, and we'll do the intro. We'll get into what the SEC said and yada, yada, yada. But once it comes up here, then you might have to back test the former resistance as support. So that's what's going on. Big Dog, thank you so much for joining Tom's Army in your 1st month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. That is incredibly generous. And that is awesome. You just made me the happiest person in the world. You said home from trucking to watch my favorite YouTuber, Tom. Thank you so much, Big Dog. And I'm glad that you're home safe. It's not easy driving a truck over the road, especially. Years ago, my stepdad, when my mom was married to him, used to do that, and it was brutal. Trading with J-Rod, because he was gone so much too. Trading with J-Rod, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for so very long. For so very long. Over 3 years with the Diamond Hands badge. That's unbelievable. Joey McCaffrey, thank you so much for the $10 donation, and also being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. So awesome. But I think I'm just making sure I didn't miss anything. Welcome, big. Yes, indeed. So this is what we need to see. We're going to eventually need to see that breakthrough. So we need to get over that $2.40 in time. It's not impossible by any means. Not at all. Can I ask everybody a question? How does the sound right now? Is it muffled at all? Because I'm trying to... Because I reset this back on here. I just want to make sure that I didn't muffle this at all. I don't think I did. I think somebody would have said something if it didn't sound right. Okay. Perfect. How's DGB looking? Oh, we're going to get into DGB. We're going to get into DGB. DGB, it still hasn't broke over the key resistance, but it is up 3% on the day, which I'm very happy to see. It's found itself inside of this consolidation. Inside this consolidation. So this first area was this resistance that we fell outside of. We talked about the drop, and had I have not been on Crypto.com, I would have possibly sold this rising wedge or this rising channel. You could call it a wedge too, because you could break it down. Actually, you probably could if you wanted to look at it like this. You could absolutely look at that as a broken down rising wedge. It would have fit. Maybe it would have been easier for some to see. But I wanted to see how it reacted to this uptrend, and I knew it was going to fall through when we got rejected. But I didn't want to sell it on Crypto.com because their fees, you got to have at least a 10% move. And there was one, but it's very negligible at that point. So I decided just to add more. I added 400,000 DGB when it held support. So... You know, so that's what I'm dealing with. And I think DGB will in time, it's going to get out of here. It's just, we're stuck right now. And the problem is if it does break to the downside, like we've talked about with crypto, it could fall out. And then we could end up dropping down, but it held a very critical level. Let's just say it does do this properly. It breaks back above here. And then in time, somewhere about here, that's the short target. And then ultimately you're going to break up. But we got to get out of this range. That's the bottom line. If we don't get out of this range, we're still stuck in a little bit of a weird consolidation. The good news is we bounce back from the breakdown of the short-term rising wedge. The bad news is we're still on the resistance side. So it's the same thing as kind of like what we talked about with Ethereum yesterday. We have this big rise up, but we won't know anything until we see how it reacts to that weekly death cross. The good news here initially is, and I'll tell you this straight up, is the fact that we went over the top. My biggest fear... Let me straighten this up real quick. I don't know why that keeps tipping. There we go. What the hell? Could just be because I have this slanted. I don't know. You know, when I'm moving stuff all around, sometimes it's tricky, but I think that's okay. But my biggest fear when it did this was that we would get rejected at the death cross. The good news is we went way over the top last night. Like, look how far over the top. We went to almost 2,500. So it gives us plenty of room to back test that now. You know, in a very real way. Now, we don't want to go all the way back down to the 20-day here. I'm telling you right now in the 4-hourly. We do not want to go down there. In particular, we do not ever want to go back below the 100-day. Hell, I don't even want to go that far. Honestly, in the weekly, we don't want to drop back below that 2250 level. I'm going to be real. We need to hold that as a support and invalidate that death cross, because I know a lot of you remember the conversation. Hey, I know it looks bearish, but even if it's bearish with the rising wedge, we still need to come back up and retest the breakdown of the rising wedge. Who remembers this over the last several weeks? Like, we've talked about that so much that even if this pattern ends up bearish, we would need to retest that in a lot of ways. Thank you for the MXC and XRP healthcare tips. Oh, you're welcome, the Gatman. Thank you so much for the $5 donation. And being in Tom's Army for 2 years with the XRP 589 Moon badge. So yeah, that's the problem here. That's the biggest problem. Let's see. Yeah. I mean, so we're stuck right now. We're on the bottom of the rising wedge that broke down, and we're just back testing right now. But it does, it does give us a little bit of hope, because that looks like a reversal candle in the weekly in the highest. Like, that's the highest order of weekly reversal. That is fantastic. Like, so if we're looking at it from that regard for Ethereum, we got a nice reversal. And we do know alt season is the big kaboob. That's like, this is everything. We need alt season to be defined by Ethereum overtaking Bitcoin momentum-wise and allowing a flip from Bitcoin dominance back into the alt tokens. Like, it happens pretty similarly every time. And this is it's just the way it goes. So now we need this to follow through. We need this to be a reversal, and the only way to get that confirmation is Ethereum's going to have to break up over. Let's see. Where's this at? Let's put a price note here. Ethereum's going to have to break up over here. We need, we need to get over there. Oh, son of a bitch. Well, with that being said, good morning. 11:23 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Friday, May 9th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire with the side bet on XLM Future Digibyte OG. And I reside in the great state of Michigan. So, like, I know you guys have been seeing my content in 7 ways from Sunday. Like, when I go live, this is the way I do my updates. I like the screencast. I like to be able to show you guys it. I like you guys to be right in front of me. For all of these different reasons, this is what I like to do. But in the mornings, I'll have eventually a touchscreen tablet. There's been some issues in the shipping, which happens now with technology because, let's face it, not everything's on hand right now. So now sometimes you get delays, and it's kind of annoying. But I like to separate this. But in this regard, right now we're looking at 2,258 roughly. We're trying to see that range if Ethereum holds. This is where you would expect a consolidation. Now, the one thing I'm happy about with XRP is the fact that after it hit the 240, it didn't just completely reverse. And what I mean by that is it didn't give it all back, if I'm being honest. It did not give it all. And the Gatman, I will look at XRP Healthcare and MXC in just a second. Once I finish this thought. I want to go to the XRP versus SEC, or Ripple versus SEC developments. And then we'll get on to where we need to go. So that's what we're looking at for XRP. But I am glad that it didn't give it all back already. It does have a reversal, yes. It's probably going to do it over time. Are we lining up with the weekend? Of course we are. We have a golden cross in the 2 hour, which is great. The 50 and the 100s come through the 200, a full-blown reversal. This is good news. So now you're looking to be held up by the moving averages. Same deal in the 3 hourly, 4 hourly. Same deal. We have a complete golden cross here with the 50 and the 100, as well as the 20 crossing through the 200. Like, that's already happened. This is the only question was, were we going to go over the top and back test 240 or come back down possibly? And now the area in real time would be about 222 still, 221.80. But otherwise, you know, this could be one big phenom. Like, this could be one big, you know, it could be one big, I don't know how many of you paid attention yesterday when I was super excited about the live and the fact we were up, but I was super hesitant in telling everybody to buy at certain areas until it broke over, because we don't know going into the weekend. Now, we just don't know. MXC is still, I mean, yesterday it's up a little bit from yesterday, but there's going to be an update with MXC, which is one of the reasons I talked about it. I'll get into MXC in a second, because it had a devastating drop. I had sold out before around 2.3 cents or 0023, and it ended up dropping off by like 60% is the bottom line. I didn't know it was going to drop that much that quick, but it did. So I started to look at it deeper. Joseph Euler, thanks for being in Tom's Army for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor, and also being, I mean, a very supportive, I mean, a $10 donation on top of being in Tom's Army for over 3 months now. That's incredibly generous. Incredibly generous. It did, Chuck. It absolutely did break out on a Saturday, and it went up like, I want to say 30 or 40% when everything else was down. Actually, it might have been more. It just went ballistic. That was my favorite day of that, holding that particular asset. It went against the market. But I've noticed a pattern with MXC, and it's weird because it doesn't usually, it's not like it needs Ethereum, but for some reason it mimics it a few days after. So now that Ethereum made this move, I have confidence that it's going to follow through. You know, it feels like it needs to follow through, but again, like I said yesterday, there is that chance that it falls through and you get cut down by a third. But to me, it was worth the risk. Now, I could have went in heavier, but just in case it does have to come down and where I drew it like this, where it looks like a smiley face, that's more of if it needs to do an inverse head and doesn't pull up here and this doesn't, because I'll be honest, it might have already done the head because this could be the shoulder, this could be the head. And if this rotates up a little bit and then does this, that could be the right shoulder playing out right in front of us. Or this whole mess could be a shoulder, down to a head, back up. It's more drawn out. I would like to think scenario number 1 is what we're playing at after such a drastic drop with an IOTA token. And Moonchain isn't going anywhere. Like, this has big plans. It's just, it's back. Let's just put it this way. You know when you're trying to buy something from, like, let's just say you go on Amazon. You go to buy something, and you click on an item, you type in what you want, and then the one that gets publicized the most, it might be the biggest pile of shit, Amazon's promoting it. I don't usually buy anything promoted by Amazon, because it's just, there's a reason they're promoting it. So, it's the same case here. When you go to look at something, you type in the IoT tokens. To get the Moonchain, you got to go down past the 98% of other IoT tokens because it's ranked so far in the back. Like, that's just the bottom line. And you just got to find it because it's a small market cap right now. That doesn't mean it's shit. That doesn't mean it's going away. In fact, I would say I'm the shitty person because I had Theta and Filecoin at a perfect level, especially Theta, at 62 cents. I said, if it goes to 62 cents, I'm buying it. Went down to fucking 60 cents, and what do? Oh, it might come down here. So out of stubbornness, I missed Theta where I had the buy-in. Filecoin is the other one. So I'm not perfect. Filecoin, again, because I wanted $1.57. Like, hello? Sometimes you don't get $1.57. And it came down to $2.11. Like, that was close enough. So certain things that I didn't add to out of stupidity, I did it a slightly different way. So instead of adding the Theta and Filecoin because of stupidity, I said, you know what? I may be stupid in some places, or I may be completely ridiculous when it comes to DGB. I decided to add another 400,000 tokens to make it 2 million even now. Tokens of DGB. So I've got a plan. It may not pan out, but I have a plan. And unless I have to sell DGB, I wouldn't sell it because of the fee I'm going to get hit with on Crypto.com. I mean, it's not horrible, but right now it's worth like $19,700. If I sold it, I would probably only get around 18. So you're talking about, or 18.3. That's a big difference. So you're looking at a good 10% from the buy and sell that you're going to have to do to recover it. You need a drop point. And then so that you're in a better position. You don't just want to sell for a 3 or 4% loss, you know, on the fees, and then buy it back. Because there's no fees when you're buying it. Like when I buy it on Crypto.com, you're not dealing with the fee. They backload it. So like when you're buying it, you're not seeing a big difference. But when you go to sell it, especially with volatility, you're going to see it. It's not quite as bad as Uphold, but it's up there. So if it wasn't for DGB, I would not even, well, I would have Crypto.com because I like the Crypto Visa debit card. And I like being able to put crypto or just funds prepaid through crypto and never have to put it to the bank. So you can make it work for you in a digital sense. And you can take cash back too, which is nice. But Ripple versus SEC. And I hope everybody's having a spectacular end of the week. We got Mother's Day coming up on Sunday, which I'm super excited to go to the flower show. I wasn't able to go last year because my son was in Grand Rapids in the Children's Hospital for like 10 days. Well, it ended up being like 3 weeks between 2 hospitals, but in Grand Rapids when he ended up getting what he needed. So let's read through this though. So, and I've been asking my mom for like 11 years to go to the flower show, and she never goes with me and Julie and her mom and her sister and brother who's autistic. But all of a sudden this year, my mom, I've asked her every year, and this year she said she was going, so hopefully she does come. So Ripple and the SEC settlement is a surprising new twist. SEC official slams Ripple deal, warns it weakens crypto enforcement, and sends the wrong message to bad actors. Good, I don't want no crypto enforcement. The less of that, the better. I don't need somebody micromanaging what the hell I'm trying to do in crypto. If I can't figure it out, I shouldn't be in crypto. I don't need the government telling me how, when, where, and the way to do it. I don't need them to tell me what bank I can send it to, what exchange, what mechanism I need to use. And we had something happen yesterday where Missouri has passed it to the governor's desk now to make it at a state level. There's no capital gains, which means you would still have to file a federal return until it's federal, but then you would get a tax credit on your state taxes for the amount that you pay the Fed, which is fucking ridiculous and weird. So the Fed's, so here's the way it works, and this is what actually pisses me off. So the Fed is still going to get their money. The state's going to give you the money, right? But who do you think's going to get taxed to pay that offset on the tax? The people who live in the state of Missouri, even if they're not trading crypto. The rich get richer. Unfortunately for us, we're part of the 5% of retail that actually knows what the hell is going on, like the institutions. And by being here every day and understanding it, there's a reason I'm in crypto. I'm not just doing this because crypto is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Actually, it's a pain in my fucking ass because of all the manipulation, trading bots, and things like that, and government overreach now. But it has the most potential for the most amount of money. So I always find yield where it's proper. A high-ranking official in the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, has taken a strong stance against a recent settlement between the agency and Ripple Labs, the organization behind the cryptocurrency XRP. Commissioner Carolyn A. Crenshaw filed an official dissident statement on May 8th to Judge Therese, and the statement claims that the Ripple SEC settlement deal undermines the authority of the court. Crenshaw believes that a settlement plea would show that the SEC is receding, because it is, because you have no fucking basis. Excuse me, I need to get some water. All right. Let's see. Absolutely, Crypto Cooter. I think it can go much higher than that. You know, it's going to take time. And I'm not necessarily aiming for $70, but at that dollar whatever buy, I was aiming for the $20 to $40 range. So it makes me feel so stupid at $2.11. But, you know, I have other plans too. So, like, I was stuck in the middle because I wanted more DGB. So when a push came to shove, I went one way instead of the other, and I'm not going to hold myself up. But yeah, I absolutely think we could probably play those ranges. It's just going to take time. So, the commissioner also warned that the SEC's eagerness to abandon fines would send a troubling message to the crypto sector. Absolutely, Tanya. We will absolutely look there. 100%. Message to the crypto sector. This would lead companies to believe that violating securities laws will not result in significant penalties, potentially encouraging more misconduct. On April 8th, the proposed settlement between Ripple and the SEC was filed, and the U.S. District Court as an indication that a legal conclusion was at hand. Under the settlement, Ripple would have paid $50 million to the SEC, and the remaining funds held in escrow, about $75 million, would have been returned to the company. You know what's funny about that? Look what they did. They paid $50 million. And $75 million that they locked up at what, 10, 15, 20 cents worth of XRP has now went up like 50 fucking times or 20 times. So that 75 million is probably worth like over $1 billion, probably approaching 1.5 to 2 billion. So like when I told you guys 4 years ago the reason that they were doing all this shit and the reason a couple years ago they locked this up into escrow, hell, that 75 million at minimum is probably worth 500 million right now. So just think about that. So they pay 50 million, but they increase their books by how much? And it stays off the books because it was in an escrow account. I'm just saying, when you play the 4th degree and 8th degree of chess, it's not exactly what it appears. And Ripple are the scumbags that I intended on them being, and that's exactly why I'm invested, because they're part of the World Economic Forum. They're part of the International Monetary Fund. They're part of the U.S. government. That's what I need. I need them to be scumbags. If they were straight and clear and they didn't have their noses dirty, it wouldn't be worth my fucking time. I could just go get fucking any other crypto. But this goes deeper. Excuse my French. I don't know I'm swearing so much today, but apparently I just don't care. In 2020, the SEC sued Ripple, arguing that it was selling their token, XRP, without a registered security status. The court partially agreed. You know what it is? I think I'm just sick of all the nonsense. You know, I think I'm just sick of the nonsense, I think. I think that's what's going on. I think I'm just sick of the deception and sick of the back and forth. I just think I don't care anymore. If somebody hates me, leave. If somebody loves me, stay. That's the way I feel. And that's because, like yesterday, I pushed a message and I was just saying, like, we can put the information, we can push somebody or we can give all the information, but you can't actually push something to do something to better themselves or to understand what you want them to. So I think it comes with a part of understanding now at 41 years old that I can do everything I need to do. And as long as I feel content that I've given everything I can, it's up to the individual to take action. That's the one thing we have to realize. We can't take action for somebody else. We can give them all the information in the world. You got to be nice, courteous, loving, have that positive spirit. You want to be good. So many people want to be bad in this world. They want to be demonic and satanic. It's so wrong. Like, you want to be good. You want to push that so that other people can learn. We want to create abundance for not just ourselves, but for everybody around us. So I'm trying to create abundance for myself, which I've been, but I want to create even more, but I want everybody else to be in with me. So some of you have been in with the in. I've seen some people that turned 5 figures into being millionaires now watching the show. I can't say that because I started with so much less when I started the show. I was only at like $5,000 when I started the show, and now it's materialized into like a 6-figure kind of situation. Very low, near the 100,000 mark, but I've also done like 60,000 in home repairs, so to even see this amount of money is weird. You know, I still act like I have no money the way I do things, so that's what I like. So I like the left Tanya. Hey, I didn't say it, but majority it ends up being that way, yes. It ends up being on the left, especially in the USA. And the reason for that is we don't have a lot of education when we're young. So the Democrats push to us because we don't know what it's like to own a house. We don't know the implications of what they're going to do, you know. So we end up, and then that's why you end up going to the right the older you get, because you're like, oh, these scumbags on the left. But then when you get a little bit older, you're like, wait a minute. The right's just as bad as the left. The left, I might have been ignorant when I was in school and I didn't own a house, so I was able to go along with their free money. Well, this is bullshit. The right wants to push it to where they want to take all of our money, put it all into like a trading investment style deal, real estate, with these crazy easy incentives if you make enough money, but most people can't just buy a bunch of real estate and get the tax write-offs or have these strategic ways of having losses in this part, like, oh, I'm going to lose 3,500 this year in crypto, have it as a running loss. Next year I make 7, but now I've only got 30. You know, I can write off half the loss. There's just so much strategic. And when you know how to do it at the end of the year and then rebuying back 2 weeks later because you don't want to have the, you don't want it to be a wash sale. And then people are like, well, what the hell's a wash sale? Well, when you're in the stock market, if you sell something and you buy it back within like, it's supposed to be a 30-day calendar, but sometimes you get around it in 14 days. They implemented a policy a few years ago where they call it a wash sale, and it's bullshit. So if I'm down $6,000 and I sell out and I buy that same stock back in 2 weeks, even if it's gone down, they'll put a W next to the sale when you rebuy it. It's called a wash sale. That minus, as you start gaining, it just washes. Or if you had a gain, let's just say this. You have big losses. It won't even count it as a loss if you buy it back. It'll wait. So, I mean, it's exactly how they destroyed pension plans. 100%. It's a big way of how they did it. So, and they do it through the tax code, and the little simpleton doesn't know what to do. So then you start to agree with the right on one side and left, and then you eventually, if you break free of all the political nonsense and just if you can shut it off for a minute, and you just look outside the box and you say, all right, I am not blue or red. What are the central banks saying? And then you start to see why they divide and conquer from the right to the left, because they can't say so much, because then some political donor is going to say, well, if you're not going to do it, I'm just going to vote for the next guy in line. Oh, no, don't do that. Just put it in my pocket so I can stay here and make this easy. So I'm not going to say more. JW's probably having a freaking aneurysm right now saying you're about to get banned if you keep on this path, and I agree. So the court could partially agree. The court partially agreed, ruling that Ripple violated the law when selling XRP to institutional investors. So the bottom line is, you can't lead somebody to water. You can show them it, but you can't force them to take action and actually drink it. Or find the food that's within. Or find the remedies that live within the, that particular dome. You can find medication. You can find so much stuff within, but not when selling it on exchanges. The court ordered Ripple to stop breaking the law against selling securities and issued a $125 million fine. The SEC has been looking to create new crypto-specific rules, especially after SEC Chair Paul Atkins took office. However, no definitive framework exists. And then that was just to see basically what they said. But this is what actually happened with the SEC. So the SEC and Ripple ink a $50 million settlement agreement. We already know this. But they're asking the New York judge for a green light. So District Judge Annalisa Perez ordered Ripple to pay the SEC, blah, blah, blah. We already know about this. So Ripple Labs and the U.S. Securities, and this was on the SEC website. That's the only reason I'm talking about this. Ripple Labs and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, have officially reached a deal. If approved by a judge, will bring their years-long legal battle to an end. According to settlement agreement filed in New York on Thursday, both parties have agreed to $50 million penalty, a portion of the $125 million fine initially imposed last year. Jen, thank you so much for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years with the XRP Diamond Hands badge. It is okay. It is okay. You're right. It's all okay. It is okay. I just, I think we're seeing something unfold right now, which is pretty interesting. I really do. Look at the bond market, the 10-year bond. It's telling you everything you need to know. Foreign assets, they ain't buying it no more. Nobody's running to the dollar anymore. It's not a safe haven. It's a problem. Jan is the OG of the OG of the OGs of the OGs. Oh, yeah. Let's see. And a tiny fraction of the massive $2 billion fine initially requested by the SEC. I'm not going to go back in time. So the settlement comes amidst the SEC's full-scale retreat from a host of crypto investigations and litigation that began under Gensler's tenure. After U.S. President Donald Trump took office in January and appointed a crypto-friendly Paul Atkins to serve as SEC's new chairman, the agency has done an about-face on crypto regulations. XRP climbed 9% of the news, and it's up from, its lowest of lows, and right now XRP is sitting at about 234.5, which is fine. We just might have to have these back tests to see if this was a real run-up or if this is a little bit of premature news. Because what it seems like, and we'll see how the rest of the day flips out. Because now, you had drops here, now you have the back test back up. The other way you had drops down, and you're getting back tests from the other way for support. So we need to know if we're having a market flip or if that was a one-day retreat and now the markets will get back on track, or do we start next week the same way as we ended? Big news is coming. We're trying to figure this out. If you look at these in the gold and silver charts with the mining stocks, you've got engulfing candles to the downside. So we're trying to see if we back test these drops and we continue down. Is gold going to end up bouncing out here? Barrett Gold got delisted for its old name. Not delisted, but they're doing a name change. B2 Gold, like I said yesterday, this is the one where I think have a little more of a holding kind of feeling, because it looks like an inverse head and shoulders is perfectly set up here. So just pay attention to that. Pay attention to that, because that's one that could and should bounce out pretty quickly unless gold just falls off. But it's had a nice recovery today. It's had a nice recovery. So I have no doubt about what some of you were saying. So basically my plan was I sold some of the miners when they were way up here, you know, over the last 48 hours. And now that they had that big drop, now if it shows the proper correction, like we're close. I need it to break over a pinpoint here in the short term. And then I would just rebuy them back for a slight savings. But I can't do anything yet until it figures out what it wants to do here. Because I wanted to see if we were going to get a drop below with these daily engulfing candles. It doesn't cost me anything to wait. Because it's the stock market. I can just buy it back. I sold it before these drops here. So I have some room here to watch it work. So I'm trying to watch it work here. Because I think we could get a little bit farther of a drop off. Just because of what's happening. It just, with all of the stuff going on in the global environment, gold could very well push out here today. And that's what I want to see. Because in the weekly, that's a great... One could almost argue that we had a reversal last week. This week is just working on an extended inverted hammer. And if that's the case, then you got to go into the monthly and be like, all right, well, you know, it's been a while since we've had a full scale, just unbelievable candle here to just get up. Because the monthlies, they look good, but they're pretty tame candles. You don't have this big 500 or like, well, I guess you do, but like the couple thousand candle. But the next big target for me was 4,115. So I like this. I like the way it's correcting today. I like the way it's correcting today. Back to the top side. We just need the follow through now. So that's what we need. XRP is going to be the new Bitcoin market cap wise, but that's where I beg to disagree with others who think it's going to be by price. You said it exactly right, and I agree with what you're saying. Market cap wise, it'll overtake Bitcoin in time. Some people say that's not really saying much because there's 100 billion total tokens compared to, what, 25 million? But hey, that's the way I look at it. On the monthly, VeChain is starting its reversal. So it's already come down to low support. Good buying opportunity if it held that pattern at 2.1 cents. It looks like it's held it as of right now. We just don't know. It's up to the 20-day and the weekly. It's trying to push over. But this is your first rejection at 2.9 cents. Gets over that, it starts to open the door in the daily a little bit. Because then you can start pushing up to about 3.1. And then if you break that, it definitely opens up the window in the 4-hourly. Because then you can start to break out to that top side resistance. Back up here. But it looks like it's starting to break out. That's an inverse head and shoulders. I have no doubt this should break out. It's just, I don't know if we have a weekend correction. But it seems like we should get some follow through. Assuming we don't fall through those initial support structures. That's the big thing right now. Just like I would like to say the mining stocks are about to have a big follow through as well. But right now now they fall 0.5% or 1%. But we don't have that follow through yet. So like if you're not in a position, you're kind of in a holding spot right now. Like B2 Gold came up from $2.40 up to like $3.38. And then it bounced around, but now it showed a rejection. So now we just have to make sure that some of these bounce back out. And once they show me it, because it's still in a, like this to me is where you could absolutely take a shot on B2 Gold because it held. It held. But we're not up here anymore, guys. This is what I'm trying to say. This is where the rejection was when I gave it a chance to come back down and see if it would hold here. Not because I didn't want to hold it, just because I had a plan. The plan might not pay off, and I might just be buying it back for minimal savings where I could take a couple thousand out. I wanted this to drop back through and retest down here. And then if they all did that, I would have been looking at about $8,000 I could have took out of my mining stocks to buy back a tiny bit more of the mining stocks that I already had share-wise, if that would have played out. And I could have had $8,000 in my pocket. Right now, if it progresses this way, I could buy back everything I had in a little, and I probably only have about 1,000 in my pocket. See, that's the difference. I was trying to have a major payday by trying to stay out ahead of a correction that might not ever happen fully. This is where it gets dangerous because now you have to make that decision. You know, you have to find yourself. So you just have to have a plan and you live with it. If it goes against me, you live with it. I don't care. I'll take advantage the next time it has a retracement or the next one that hasn't bounced up yet or the next, you know, so there's always the opportunity. You just have to be willing to trust yourself. We went through DGB, we went through XRP. 1 Bitcoin equals 200 million sats. Very finite with no... Yeah, when you break it into the sats, couldn't I just say XRP is a micro? I could just call it XRP. Let's see. Well, since we call it a Satoshi, It equals 200 million sats. Couldn't I just say with XRP, all right, well, it's $2.34. We could just micro it, and you can go buy, you know, micro XRP somewhere else, and 10,000 micro XRPs equals 1 XRP. We could all do that. You could have an infinite supply. That, of course you can. But the bottom line is you're not going to get any more above the actual amount of Bitcoin that's going to be actual mined. So we can call the sats whatever we want and reformulate it, but, you know. Exactly, 1 million drops in XRP. There you go. There you go, Mark Caston. There you go. I like that. Is $5 coming for XRP? Only when Wave 5 begins, or is actually confirmed. We don't know if Wave 5's happening yet. We've kind of got it set out as a 5 wave. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. But I don't know if 4th wave actually started there, which it very well might have, because that looks like a beautiful inverse head and shoulders when you pull it out. Like when you actually pull it out like this, you can see an inverse head and shoulders where it looks like the 5th wave consolidated. So, you know, otherwise, if we go back to the prior 2 patterns as we've discussed, if it takes as long as the prior 2 5th waves, which I think this one's different because you had an invalidation in 2021, which is why I believe you wouldn't do a WXY correction or a 3-wave correction, however you want to denote it. I don't care because we all say things different. But if you want to do it like it did before, it would push you somewhere like this. And then you'd have to wait that long to get like the 3.5-year consolidation. This time feels different in a way. We just need to make sure this isn't some freaking weird head and shoulders and things like that. But this does feel slightly different this time. So do I think it's going to take that long? Probably not. Is there any way of knowing until you do? Unfortunately, no. There's no way of knowing until you do. So could that be the 4th wave and bouncing into a 5th right now? It seems quick. It's only been like 6-7 months. But it could. It really could. Rick, welcome in. I hope you had a great session in the gym. I haven't worked out yet today. I'm going to go do a nice walk after I get done with this live. I like to do 6,000 steps plus. 6,000 is my minimum that I started once it got a little warmer. So I've done 29 days in a row of 6,000 plus steps. It's usually around 10. But that's what I do every day. And then I do my weight training and stuff like that. But I haven't done any of that yet. Did a lot of work yesterday. And I've already worked out 5 days this week. I was bad and worked out Sunday. So I've done Sunday through Thursday. So now it's like, you know, may have to take a day off. I don't know. See how I feel later. But I did a lot of gardening and stuff yesterday too. I had to go get some dirt. And it was a lot of stuff. But $5, I think $5 will happen eventually. Because if you go back to when we broke out, and we'll go to ALGO before I leave, I promise. The descending wedge that we were in to start this actual pattern. And like all of this, I don't need this anymore. It's all noise. I have other charts that can show you all of this. But I think this chart, I just want to have it showing the actual initial target before the breakout is what I want to do. Because the other one's micromanage it. I don't want to have this chart micromanaged. We used this for what it needed when we had the initial cup and handle breakout. When we had to go to $1.38 and such. But, you know, now it's just time to clean it up. So we can see. And if you guys just give me one moment of grace here as I delete all this shit out. We'll look at this and show you why I believe that $5.49 needs to happen. Otherwise, this would just be a failed moment. If it came all the way back through this descending wedge in time, we never broke. I think it would just be a failure. Much like 21, except in a slightly different way. But I don't necessarily think that's happening. I think this is a big bull flag right now, a big arm. And it's going to come up much bigger. The descending wedge target after all these years. And this is the highest target right here. If you take the widest part, and that's how you can get the 679. However, and I want to do this in real time, which is why I deleted that arrow. If you take it from here in 21 where we had this big drop, and then you take it from the, whoops, what is that? How did it create that? That's interesting. And then if you take this, that was the initial drop, or the initial move. Okay, so that's how we thought we could get on the top side. Now, if you do this slightly different and you take the widest base, instead of going over there at 679 and you bring it from the breakout, You get this first target. Then you had the consolidation as well. And then that allowed you to have a very significant move out of here. And they lined up at 549. But it's been rather large. So, yeah, you could say the initial, that's why we always had that $4 range in the beginning. But after this setup, this Elliott wave, the way it actually set up, it's setting up with this consolidation on a real breakout. It's lined up perfectly for 549. Like, and even the market cap, it's lined up for a move up to 255 billion if it plays out. But that's if, because you have the short targets on the descending wedge that technically brought you first layer to about that 275 area, which it hit. We had some that brought us as high as 679 roughly. We haven't hit those areas yet. And we also haven't hit 549, but I think, you know, even if things went south very quickly, I think no matter what, you have to hit $4. Like, I do think that's caked in. I think you need to hit somewhere up here near that $4, but, you know, who knows? Who knows? Because we still haven't taken out those all-time highs yet. We came up there. We just haven't taken it out. What I am arguing with some people, and it's a good argument, is that we're trying to set up Discovery. Instead of just going straight into Discovery without back-testing a 7-year consolidation and having people that were in these price levels for 7 years, XRP showed us some grace here, and I'm going to be honest. Instead of doing that, XRP decided, I'm going to consolidate here for 6-7 months before we go into Discovery. That's huge, because you clear out a lot of these levels of where you have a lot of pent-up buyers that have been sitting for years and years, and they want to get out first chance. Guys, they had their first chance. And rather remarkably, and it was a big drop, XRP dropped 53%. We had to have known that was going to happen at some point. You have people that were stuck anywhere between $2.20, or actually $2 and let's say 20, all the way up to $3.70 depending on exchange, that you're stuck. Yeah, I called the drop to $1.50. It came to $1.60. I still, like I said, I wish it would have come to $1.50 to clear the FEG, but it came within a certain percentage to where it was okay to start buying. It's just if you were buying it, you want to buy as low to those points as possible, and we came within 10%. So there was a point where I came on and said, hey, we're within 10%, that's the spot to buy. But as it came back up 20 and 30%, I was hesitant to tell people to buy in those areas. Because what if it did come back through? So there were areas to buy. There's still areas to buy if you want. There's things that haven't moved like XRP. You know, there's things that are still rather crazy low. Like if you look at ALGO, like I have no ambition of selling my 33,000 ALGO at these prices. Like I had thoughts of it, but there's no ambition. We haven't done anything. I've made what, 1x? Big deal. That's not why I bought ALGO. I didn't buy ALGO for 20-something cents when it was in the low teens. I bought ALGO for this big fucking rebound at the Hank Hill ass, so I can be selling it at $3.40 and buying it in the low teens. Like if I can buy 30,000 ALGO or 33,000 ALGO, and you know it's costing $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, and then all of a sudden you can sell them for 90,000, 150,000. I mean, come on. That's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a transformational shift here. It takes time. It takes commitment. But if I'd kick my own ass if I sold ALGO at 19 cents or 21 cents when I watched it at $3.21 or 21. I watched it at, yeah, $3. And I said, man, if it just comes down to a level where I can attain it, I'm buying it. And then to get rid of it before it makes it, that would have been like me getting rid of XRP every time it bounced between 90 cents back down to 50. Instead of all that bullshit, I just said I'm going to hold it, and it gives me a chance at 38. You know, if it comes sub 40, I'll just buy more, and I did. I surprised myself and bought $5,000 more of XRP at 38 cents, which allowed me, in this bull market, to sell a shitload of XRP and never touch my main bag. But I made a lot of money. I made like $30,000 on XRP because of that side bag. It was the smartest thing I ever did when it came to XRP. And then to actually get rid of it at $3 and at $3.20 was even smarter because I knew it didn't have any relevance to me going forward. And then that is spiraled into so many more DGB and so many other things like MXC and so many more algo. I only had, what, 15,000 algo when all this started. Now it's 33,000. I'd much rather have 33,000. And this might rub some people the wrong way. I would much rather have 33,000 algo right now than having my entire 25,000 XRP at this point that I had after I bought. And remember, some of it I got rid of with the XRP Bitcoin pairing. I want to say like $1,500 to $2,000 of that initial 5,000 buy. I bought when the XRP Bitcoin pairing exploded, and I traded it that way. But then I had a solid like 12, I want to say about 12,000, 11,000 XRP that were just sitting there, not in my wallet, not on my XRP healthcare app, because I keep them together. And I went that route. And it's almost the same thing as I'm trying to do here. But I do think this is where you have to pay attention. Like, please pay attention to B2 Gold. If anything, pay attention to that setup. If anything, make sure the mining stocks, when you're watching them, you're not, you know what? Like, there's certain things like I want people to pay attention to. And you know, I'm going to make a perfect case in point here, okay? Of why you shouldn't be scared. So this was down here. It got rejected here, and I said, all right, I'm done. I'm going to let it fall down. Hoping for a retest of about 15. Well, it looks like it's getting a little bit of a reversal possibly. And now it might just be a 6.5% savings. Okay. Well, at 6.5%, you have to make a decision. Well, the only way to make a decision is if you think it's going to bounce up and break through. Well, I mean, what do you see here? That was our prediction when it was coming down, and it did. It filled this out. But now does it look like an inverse head and shoulders is forming? I want to ask my audience. I want to ask my audience before the weekend. Do you think that that's an inverse head and shoulders forming on the top of this pattern? Do you think that's a perfect weekly back test after a breakout? Or do you think it's going to have to come back down where we had this cross and we'll be seeing a retest at 3? Or do you think we go right to 41? That's my question. Does this retest 3,000 or go to 4,100 first? That's all I want to know from my audience. See where you're at with gold. I know, McMichael, it's a tough one, isn't it? It's a tough one. That's where I'm fighting right now. I don't mind Zayman. That's what I was using with XRP before I decided to put it into the XRP healthcare app or their wallet. Just something I wanted to do. That is the real problem, Papa Wheelie, is the China news. That's the real problem. That is the problem. Because with the China stuff, and yeah, the tariffs, they said, oh, we're lowering it to 50%. Look how stupid we are in the USA. It's not 175%. Now it's only 50%. Like, I almost say that was a pretty nice daily reversal here. It is a big if right now. I can see the inverse head and shoulders. And like, I'm not forcing myself back anywhere. It's just, I can see something starting to line up here. Like silver looks like it's trying. 4 hourly looks like it's trying. Like that looks like we might have got the inverse setup that we wanted. You know, like that's what I mean. Like maybe this was just a drop back down to reinforce it. And that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for that because at some point here, silver and gold, I mean, gold's already been doing it, but silver's going to have one of these parabolic spikes. And it's so hard to judge right now. We got 4 hours left today to make a decision, in my opinion. After a nice little push up, there is a likelihood, because we bounced from the bottom, that we're going to have to see some kind of consolidation to see if it can. But it did, for all intents and purposes. Like, if it does do something like that, 3,319 is what I'd be looking for. Just a boom, boom, boom. Like, this is all I think would need to happen. That's what I'm kind of secretly hoping this does happen. Down to a shoulder, down to a head. Let's create that last shoulder right here. confirm the hold over the neckline, and then bounce out and then start retesting, and then get back into discovery. That is what I'm secretly hoping for. That it's trying to set up another inverse part that mimics the earlier parts of this pattern. And what I mean by that is you oftentimes will start seeing mimicking in the shorter pattern to mimic the longer pattern. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. So maybe it's finally starting to mimic. And then in time, we're going to start to capitulate up here and see if we're ready to make a full-blown run out after we push 3,500 again. That's what I could see happening as well. I see an inverse head and shoulders. That's why I don't want to sugarcoat it. Like, you have to pay very close attention to this exact moment. So, but no, I'm not selling my gold. Like, this is the thing. From a mining perspective, I do weird things. I haven't done it in a while. But my gold and silver is not for sale. My physical metals I don't sell. And I haven't. I've started buying them in 2019. I haven't sold a single ounce of either. None. Zero. Gazilch. So, and you're talking plus 800 ounces of silver and plus 15 ounces of gold that I never touch. I'm saying this from a mining stock perspective only. So don't get it twisted. I would never. I don't. That's my store of value. I don't sell my store of value, period. May not all be on hand, but I won't sell it. So let's see. ALGO, 22.98, up 1.9% on the day. Same thing as yesterday. Back test this area. And, you know, that's what we got to do. So, I mean, if we're looking at it realistically, 2170, back test that descending breakout. Otherwise, we could have had an early breakout, but that is about 70% of the way through that consolidation. If I'm being honest, broke out at a good spot. It's just the only thing wrong with this is we're heading into a weekend. And I hate weekends when it comes to crypto. Because the whole year, even last week, even though we didn't drop cataclysmically, we still didn't have a great weekend. We had it. It was okay. Oh, good. This isn't charging. That's what I like to see. It's not charging. Go ahead.
But then they'll be able to grind it.
I'll press the button.
Yeah. It's already prepared. You just gotta press the button.
I am gonna.
You might hear a rocket ship.
Yeah, it's gonna sound like a rocket ship. I know we're almost done here. It's been 57 minutes. Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna start Julie's coffee grinder. For what? What happened?
I think when he was back there, someone must have knocked it. It's just time to just finish your line. It can wait. You're not using the dryer. The vent thing. Okay. Yeah, he said he should come back at 3.
All right, no problem. Never a shortage. Never a shortage. You have to remember on Monday it's a full moon. I have not forgotten about that.
Is that why we're having all these issues?
I don't know. Maybe to add a position on retest if needed, and then yep, absolutely. Absolutely. That's why I'm trying to get a decision from the gold and silver market so it can tell me. It hasn't really done much yet. But we are, see, silver's, I don't know. I can't get a read on silver today because it's trying. We just need that follow through. It's looking okay right now. But then you start looking at it after it starts to make a move now. We need the follow through. Just give me one follow through moment then. And now in the 5-minute, you can see maybe we're going to have a back test. So I don't know. I think it's worth watching today a little bit. If you're not in anything, I think it is worth watching, but pay attention to some of these mining stocks big time. Big time. I know they're up 4 and 3%, but yesterday they dropped like 12%. So you're talking about a 1/3 recovery right now, which I mean, that's pretty standard between 33 and 50 to 60% recovery. So, you know, that's what I want to see. Can we get the full follow through? I would love to come back here Monday and see gold up 200 bucks. You know, you're talking about a $3,000 move just in precious metals. And I would love to see. That's why I mean, mining stocks aren't everything, but they can definitely help you increase and then buy more precious metals if that's the way. Or you can do the buying and selling with mining stocks so you don't have the tug to sell your mining stocks. Or to sell your precious metals, I mean. So you do it how you have to do. I'm XRP Future Million. I got things to take care of, a lot of stuff. I appreciate all of you. Have a blessed day. I'll do a short in a couple hours. Review this. Take note. And just pay attention. Because we are back testing right now. And it's something that we should have expected yesterday. This should come all the way back down to 27.3 cents. What?
I just love you.
Oh. What, is something else going on?
No.
You have that look like I need something.
Kisses.
Okay, well, that's fine. But yeah, have a good one, everybody. Catholic Faith Channel, welcome in. I'm glad to see you in here as well. Have a blessed day to you. All the moms out there, enjoy Mother's Day on Sunday. I'll be here every day, but I'm going to say it every day leading into Mother's Day.
Do a special Mother's Day.
And then I'll do a live probably at some point on Mother's Day. But yeah, XLM's definitely got a bear flag here. I'm telling you, these cryptos like XRP, $2.22 would be a spot to look if it comes all the way back down. But I see bear flags here now. And we knew yesterday this would probably happen. Overzealous run up. And then if you just maximize that little drop, that's by itself going to get you here. But I would say it's probably more likely to back test the pattern breakout. Like XRP did exactly what we talked about yesterday. It had that final 8.5% push after it broke $2.22. And now it should come back down and back test $2.21, $2.22. Now, one way to avoid that is go look in the 2-hourly. One way to avoid that is you stop here at 228 or in the 30. Nope, we already came down. See, we already missed one opportunity. We're using the 30 as a rejection. This looks like we're heading into a little bearishness into the weekend. Hopefully we get some follow through before then. Don't be surprised by the back test of a nice breakout. We had nice breakouts yesterday. If your portfolio was up 10, 12, 15% in one day in crypto, and now you lose 6, 7%, that's the way it goes. You're still up 7 to 8% overall. So yeah, I'm going to watch it all so closely. It's going to make my head blow up. But have a blessed day, everybody. I got to go. It's been an hour and 2 minutes. I'm going to go check on my son, and I'm going to go walk up and do some of my walking. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do.